Back in October last year, I had the chance to test the Leica SL3 in Copenhagen, and my conclusion was that while it is a great camera, the autofocus had a few quirks and the high-resolution sensor, while being fantastic for photography, wasn't exactly ideal for video. Entering the Leica SL3-S. This new camera features a 24 megapixel sensor and promises a much improved autofocus system and better video functionality. And thanks to the Leica store Vienna, I got to test the SL3-S 3 days before its official launch and can give you my first impressions of the camera. And I'll also be doing a more in-depth review once I've had more time with it, so if you don't want to miss that, consider subscribing. The SL3-S shares the same excellent body design as the SL3. You get that solid build with certified weather sealing, an outstanding EVF and a tiltable screen. The only visible difference is that the Leica logo is now black, which personally I really like. So what's actually changed? At its core, the SL3-S now has a 24 megapixel backside illuminated sensor. It doesn't have the triple resolution technology of the SL3, where you could toggle between 60, 33 and 18 megapixel, but gains a significant speed boost instead. The camera shoots at 7 frames per second mechanically or up to 30 FPS with the electronic shutter, all with continuous autofocus. Now it's worth noting that this isn't a stacked sensor, so if you're doing fast pans or shooting very quick subjects, you might notice some rolling shutter artifacts. But for street photography, I found it to be a very useful feature. And while the buffer size hasn't changed compared to the SL3, the smaller file sizes mean that you can shoot up to 180 photos or sustain a 5-second burst before the camera starts to slow down. But the biggest drawback of the SL3 is its sometimes quirky autofocus. While it is accurate and was sufficient for my needs, it struggled in low light or with faster moving subjects. But Leica claims to have substantially improved the SL3's autofocus, and initially I was skeptical if they managed to really make a significant improvement. But after my initial tests, I can confidently say that they've done a fantastic job. The SL3-S feels much snappier compared to the SL3, with no pulsing or searching in low light. The hit rate with subject detection is also phenomenal. Just look at this burst. Every single photo is in perfect focus. Overall, I'm really impressed by how much Leica managed to improve the autofocus. In my opinion, the SL3-S puts the autofocus and the subject detection from being good enough up to being competitive with the offerings from Canon, Nikon and Sony. And for those of you that are looking for more resolution, the SL3-S also implements a handheld multi-shot mode that combines multiple shots to give you a 96 megapixel DNG file in camera. And another thing that I immediately noticed is that the colors of the sensor are absolutely gorgeous. Of course, you get the signature Leica colors, but the way the SL3-S files look is just a bit more refined than even what you get out of the M11, and really makes you want to shoot with this camera. The SL3 is also the first camera in the SL lineup that features the content credentials that were introduced with the M11P. So now you have an easy option to prove the authenticity of your images. But while the photography improvements are great, the most significant changes are in video performance, because the SL3-S 24 megapixel sensor is far better suited for video. You can shoot 6K in either standard 16:9 or open gate 3:2 aspect ratios up to 30 FPS with 10-bit 4:0 color sampling. There's also beautiful oversampled 4K with 10-bit 4:2, H.264, H.265 or ProRes. For 4K at 60 FPS, however, the camera switches to a full pixel readout, which means you will get an additional APS-C crop. And for Full HD, you can shoot up to 180 FPS. The camera also supports directly recording to an SSD and can output 6K raw 12-bit video via the full-size HDMI port to an external recorder. Overall, the video quality is excellent without the constant crops of the SL3. Low light performance is strong, rolling shutter is well contained, and the dynamic range is impressive. The ability to shoot 6K and 6K open gate are fantastic options for reframing, cropping or zooming without losing quality. And I'm also really happy to report that the autofocus improvements carry over to video. With the SL3, I found it distracting background pulsing in low light or when the subject wasn't clearly visible. But with the SL3-S, that issue is gone. Even in tricky conditions, the camera focuses on the subject without any second guessing or pulsing. So the SL3-S is a very capable video camera with a range of resolutions, frame rates and reliable video autofocus. The only thing I was personally hoping to see is the option for full frame 4K at 60 FPS. So those are my first impressions of the new Leica SL3-S. I'm genuinely impressed with how much Leica has managed to improve the autofocus. Combined with the new burst shooting options, this camera feels very versatile and ready for anything. Plus, the SL3-S is now a true hybrid camera. It offers excellent video quality without any restrictions, reliable autofocus and the ability to shoot 6K open gate. And all that comes in at a lower price point than the SL3 at 5,200 euros. But of course, this was just a quick first look. I'll be taking the SL3-S on my next trip in February for a more in-depth test. If there's anything specific you'd like me to test, let me know in the comments below. But for now, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.